Sun Tzu once said, to know your enemy.
You can click on this, and then down here you have Bringer's autobiography, you know? It tells you about his his life in the slums before he became a devout Christian or something. You can read this if you want. Well, none of that was important. All right, I just read it. None of that was important.
Today, we'll be learning about Sacrifice Bringer, a boss frequently fought in the Deadly Assault mode, which is currently the most difficult endgame content. If you're here, you're probably having trouble beating him. Don't worry, we'll be covering everything there is to know about Bringer, so by the end, you'll be able to beat its ass. Let's start off with everything you need before fighting Bringer. So let's take a look at his boss details.
This base stat, right? This is just weaknesses and resistances. Basically, when it says weakness, try to use this element. If it says resistance, don't try to use this element. You'll do far less damage with resistance than you will with weakness. Anything that isn't these two will be normal. You're gonna want to use weakness though. Like, all right, so yeah, you're gonna want to use weakness over resistance. But if you have no choice, just do anything that isn't resistance. If you're trying to clear him with resistance, this is not for you. You're not having enough trouble in your life.
Next, we'll cover his specific boss buff.
Enemy details is usually comprised of like a little rule mechanic that the boss himself has on himself that gives you a buff for doing stuff. It's very interactive. It's like a little game that you play with him.
Bringer's game increases your agent's attack by 8% each time you trigger an attribute anomaly or disorder by filling the anomaly meter. Each time you do this, you'll gain 1 stack of laser focus. This can stack up to 6 times for a maximum of 48% bonus attack. That's huge! The next part of the ability is worded strangely. It reads, with at least 3 stacks of laser focus, inflicting an attribute anomaly will increase its duration by 5 seconds. Originally, I thought this meant the duration of laser focus would be increased by 5 seconds after having 3 stacks. However, then I started to question what even was the duration of laser focus, because it wasn't written anywhere. I had to test this buff in combat to learn how it really works. What actually happens is the anomalies you inflict on Bringer last 5 seconds longer. It's clear in the combat menu, but not on the boss page. On the bright side, it turns out laser focus doesn't have a time limit on how long it lasts. However, it does have a reset condition. If you let Bringer successfully summon his knife, you'll lose all your stacks of laser focus. The good news is, with this buff clearly explained, now we have 2 goals for this boss. 1. Inflict 6 attribute anomalies or disorders on him as soon as possible, making sure we get the full attack buff for most of the fight. And 2. Don't let Bringer complete a chant. We'll cover this soon. Lastly, the final point in enemy details states that we'll gain 2,000 performance points every time we interrupt a chant, up to a maximum of 5,000. With this, we have our third goal. 3. Interrupt his chant 3 times. The first 2 give 2,000 points each, and the third gives 1,000 due to the cap. Don't worry if you can't do it 3 times. With that out of the way, let's dive into the fight. Let's talk about his basic moveset. When you approach Bringer, he'll typically try to attack you with a whip at first. Then, he'll follow up with attacks where he flails his arm around or a delayed explosion which he charges. These attacks are simple to dodge, but the UI clutter can make it feel harder than it is. If you're having trouble dodging these attacks, here are some tips for you. Turn off the music. This may seem like an odd tip, but I think lowering any sort of sensory input from the game will allow you to focus better. The dramatic music might throw you off your game or rhythm if it's just blasting in your ear while you're trying to fight. Next, use all your counters. Usually, Bringer's first attacks can all be countered with a defensive assist. You'll notice the attacks all have the gold flash if you go into the boss fight with more than 1 agent. Most of Bringer's attacks count as heavy hits and drain 2 assist points when you counter. You can use this to your advantage. Use up all 3 of your defensive assists in the beginning of the fight so you can no longer counter like this. And now, you'll just see the red flashes on his attacks. This will force you to rely on dodging, rather than panic switching to avoid getting hit. You'll notice the timing is a little forgiving, and you'll usually want to dodge a little after the flash. He also has 2 troublesome moves. The first is an attack where he shoots an energy ball and then manifests a hand from the resulting portal. How does he do this? I often get hit by this. The projectile speed is insane. I don't dodge it very often, but this is really an odd move. He rarely does it. Keep your eyes on him, and if he looks like he's getting ready to do it, be prepared to dodge quickly. Funnily enough, being really close to him can make him miss this. The second move is similar to his whip slash, but it's a triple whip slash. It's very fast and its hit range is crazy. It's very possible to get stunned and take 2 or 3 of the hits whenever he does this. This move is,
It's honestly the most annoying move.
thankfully, also very rare. I've been able to dodge it on video once, like this. However, in most other scenarios, I've dodged the first slash and then gotten hit by the next 2 as I can't move after the second slash. I've also been hit from an insane range. Honestly, the move feels bugged. I'm glad he doesn't use it often enough to disrupt me frequently. Next, we'll cover Bringer's chant. During the fight, Bringer will sometimes stop, laugh, and say, then teleport to the back of the field and summon his hand. While this enemy is here, Bringer is chanting. In order to interrupt the chant and gain 2,000 performance points, you have to kill it. This enemy does not share the same weaknesses and resistances as Bringer, so physical actually stings, but you still shouldn't use it. The best way to kill the hand is to inflict it with 2 different attribute anomalies back to back, causing disorder. Doing this as quickly as possible is important because the less time there is between 2 anomaly procs, the stronger the disorder will be. If you need help understanding disorder, check the pinned comment of this video. I'll be making an anomaly playstyle guide and linking it there. Usually, the fastest way to do this is to use your agent's EX special skill, so it's important to not waste all of your energy before this phase. Doing so could make you fail to clear this hand and will let Bringer complete his chant. Here's an example of how I clear the hand using Miyabi, Lucy, and Bernice. I first use Lucy's EX special to activate her Chiron buff for higher attack for the team. Then I switch to Bernice and use her EX to inflict burn. Finally, I immediately switch to Miyabi and EX to freeze. Doing this all in quick succession triggers disorder and instantly knocks out the hand. Beating Bringer means you must have some sort of plan to be able to get through the hand. If anomaly and disorder isn't an option, make sure to stack as much damage and buffs as possible on your DPS and try to brute force it. However, even a weak anomaly and disorder can help a ton in clearing it. I say this because the units I use to clear the hand in less than 3 seconds are actually all very underlevel. I'm using a level 40 Miyabi, level 50 Bernice, and level 40 Lucy. Lucy is the only one with a Mindscape at M1. Why do I do this? Because I want my guides to be as accessible as possible to everyone who's watching them. Playing underleveled also allows me to develop my skills so that I can better teach you guys. This phase is all about testing and planning, so don't get discouraged if you can't clear the hand right away. Just keep trying different builds, comps, and rotations until you come up with the one that works for you. Before we move on, we have to acknowledge something. This game is unpredictable. In all of my testing, Bringer has done some really whack and inconsistent things.
Ooh, God. How can Lucy do that?
And ZZZ being an action game means things won't always play out in exactly the same way like a turn-based game. So what can we do to make sure our plans go off as planned? Always keep your energy levels near or above the threshold for using 1 EX on your agents. This is so you can spam EX during the chant. They build up a lot of anomalies, so they help with sneaking in a cheeky disorder. If you're running low on energy, from the moment Bringer starts laughing, he becomes immune to interrupts like freeze or ultimates flinching him. However, he can still be hit. You can use this time to switch to whichever agent doesn't have energy, and hitting his model will still give you energy. A common mistake proxies make is not using all their time. The window where Bringer becomes invulnerable seems like you can't do anything, but you have options, like gathering energy, building decibels, or even using this time to set up buffs that may not be up. I did this in my clip with Lucy, and it was crucial in being able to clear the hand so quickly. I'd also like to make a video discussing swapping in combat and how you can swap properly to have both agents on field still attacking. If this is something you think you need, please comment down below. If it gets enough attention, I'll also add the video once it's finished to the pinned comment. Before we move on, here's what happens if you fail to clear the hand. Bringer will spawn his sacrificial knife and go on a 20 to 30 second rampage, doing a huge combo across the whole field while staying invincible. He also resets your laser focus to 0. I'm showing you what this looks like, but honestly, you should never let it reach this point. If he summons his knife, it's best to just restart the battle. He wastes a ton of time and wipes your buff, costing you all that attack power. After you clear the hand, Bringer falls from the sky and instantly gains 30 days. He stays immobile for a short time, and if he's not at 100 days, he'll start the next combat phase. This small break is important, since we know he gains 30 days after the hand phase. It's best to trigger his laughing invincibility around 70 20 days, so he reaches 100 without wasting any. If you can daze him easily before he laughs, it might be better to stun him first to reset the meter before the hand phase. If you're missing out because you stun him too quickly, you might want to ease up and let him have a moment to laugh. In some runs, I hit him so hard or interrupt so often that he only does his hand phase once. That cost me 2,000 or 3,000 performance points, which is not good. Once his stun ends, he'll do one of two things. Very rarely, he'll laugh and go into another hand phase. I don't know what triggers this. I've had it happen in runs and in testing when I do no damage to him, so I'm not sure what triggers this. More likely, he'll start channeling, raising his arm towards the sky and shouting, "Almighty Creator, please refine me!" You can cancel this channel. Here's how. You can use any ultimate. You'll probably want to use your support since it won't do that much damage in stun window, so best to save it for this. Apply freeze anomaly if its meter is completely filled, or use an attack with a high enough interrupt value. Miyabi's Shimotsuki attack has high interrupt and is meant for this fight, so it's the best example. I'm not sure if other attacks have this much interrupt, that's why I mentioned hers by name. Please let me know in the comments if you guys know of any other moves that do this. I have a feeling Yijuan will have something, just a guess though. And lastly, stunning him. Filling up the daze meter immediately stops him and lets you start chain attacks. You might want to use these cancels if you're short on time or just want to speed up the fight. If you fail to cancel this channel, Bringer will go into one of his advanced attacks. He has at least 3 of them. After channeling with his hand in the air, he'll teleport to the center of the field and do one of them. The first is a huge laser spin. It can miss you if you're lucky, but it's just one simple dodge. Looks big and scary, but that's it. The second is 3 spinning lasers on the floor around him, plus a rain of meteors. To me, it looks like Draco Meteor from Pokemon. And just like Draco Meteor, it doesn't have the best accuracy. Ironically, the safest spot is right next to Bringer. You can keep beating on him, avoiding the lasers since they don't spawn from him, and use dodge counters near him to avoid the meteors if they land. The third one, I don't have footage, unfortunately. I remember him doing a huge explosion in the center, but now he just sits there.
You good?
And charges.
He's stuck?
Forever.
Is bro good?
Might be bugged. You can interrupt it in the same way you can cancel the channel, so it's not game breaking, just funny. That's all there is to it. This covers just about every pattern Bringer has. It's up to you to react accordingly depending on when he decides to use these attacks. Let's quickly go over the key things you need to remember when fighting Bringer. If you stick to these goals, stack your buffs, interrupt the chant, and dodge the tricky moves, you'll handle Bringer much more smoothly. And hey, if you need more help, I've been doing live account reviews and boss guide requests over on stream. Feel free to drop by and hang out. I've been loving seeing you all in the streams lately, your support's been awesome, and I'll be working on more boss guides just like this. Until then, best of luck out there, proxies. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.
This one. In combat, Sacrifice Bringer will transform into multiple weapons to perform a combination of close and ranged attacks. Great.
Thanks.
You could have just said attacks, you know, because if he has close and he has close and ranged attacks, then he just has attacks. All right. We'll summon massive creatures from fissure. What? When the fuck?